Just waiting on notification, man.
Good for
Excellent.
me.
And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this evening. We have a magnificent guest with us today, one who is going to give us some incredible information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than our Sister Ophelia Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Walaikum salam, sir.
This is a great honor on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast. We want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and have a conversation with us. The
Yes, sir.
first question that we want to know, ma'am, is when did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
It was in 85, 1985. Well, I heard it in 84. Brother that was a study group coordinator in California was speaking at a church, and my mother's neighbor invited me to the church because my son's father had just got killed. So she was trying to get me out, and there was a Muslim brother speaking at her church. I don't know if you know Brother Reuben Herndon um, from California. Well, he was speaking at the church. That's the first time I heard about Islam. Period. And then I started going to their study group in California, San Bernardino, California. I started going to the study group there, and from there, my first, well, even before I got to hear the minister or know about Islam, I was invited to LA when they had the mosque on Crenshaw, and Brother
Okay.
Jabril was speaking. So that Sunday, so we caravan down from San Bernardino to LA, and he was speaking on domestic violence, and that was my first encounter with Brother Jabril, and then in '85 I joined, and I started the process in '85. The minister was doing people organized and working for economic rebirth, power at last forever. So that was in 1985 that I first came in.
Oh, praise due to Allah.
Yes.
Wonderful. Yes, ma'am. Okay, and people showing you love all across the country. Sister Miriam and Sister Khalid. I'm gonna make sure I'm pronouncing her name. Sister Khalila says ASA dear family. Walaikum salam, ma'am. And we look forward to interviewing you soon, ma'am, Sister Khalila, to hear your life journey as well. All right. My next question for you, ma'am, is how did your family and friends feel once you accepted the teachings?
Whoa, that was a trial for me because my mother was positive about it because she was an Eastern Star, the daughter of the Sphinx. But my siblings, my brother told me I was in a cult. My sister said I was prejudiced. I mean, I was given the boot a lot of times.
Hmm.
So I kind of separated myself from my family, even though we're in the same city. I just quit going around and just started, because I was still in the church at that time, and the brother was coming. He came to our church, one of our Bible studies, and I was going to the study groups, but also staying in my church, my Baptist church. But eventually, I just stopped going to church because I went out one Sunday. Sister here in Phoenix, Sister Montala had made me a garment, a white garment, and with just a little headband. And I went to church in that, and you thought the devil walked in there. And I've been with with the Christian family in the choir. I worked on the secretary board the whole night, but they all treated me like I was an alien or something because
Mm-hmm.
because I covered down.
Mm.
So that kind of uh, helped me go on and leave the church and come into Islam. How they treated me just by wearing my clothes, wearing the garment that she made for me. So I went ahead and started going to the study groups. Yeah. So,
Beautiful. Yes, ma'am.
yeah.
All right. And who were the laborers at that time in Phoenix?
Um, well, I wasn't in Phoenix. I was in San Bernardino,
Yes, ma'am.
and I came to Phoenix. I was born here, so I moved back in 1990, and it was well, Brother Jabril was still coming to the mosque, but it was Brother Umar. Brother Umar, what's his name? Umar Sharif, I think. Yeah. Dang, is that his name? I'm not sure it was Umar. I forget his name, but just different brothers that were uh, assisting Brother Jabril because he was kind of in, but not fully in. But he still was coming out and teaching and stuff like that when I came back in the 90s. So not, I can't think of any specific person other than him. And there was a brother, I want to say Umar Sharif, that was his name that he went by. Yeah.
Wonderful. And what advice would you give to those younger generations who are coming up as far as holding on to our faith, because you've been in the nation for so long by the grace of Allah? What
Yes.
what advice would you give to us about holding on to our faith so we can keep 10 toes down as well, man?
Prayer always helps, and just know that your struggle is a struggle. I mean, you'll meet. I mean, I went through a struggle before moving back here to Arizona. I was in a big trial the first year of coming into the nation. I mean, a really big trial, and it was the prayers that got me through that. Not that because you fall out, I fell out. I'll say I fell out behind that trial, but I came back, and it's growing, it's maturing, and knowing that Allah got you. You know, you have to know. I mean, by Allah's grace, I've always, I can't say always, but I was in the church before I came into the mosque, so I was always striving for right. You know, and in the church, right is whatever you do and ask Jesus to forgive you, you're right. And then you can still be wrong. But you learn that coming into Islam. You learn that difference, and that you learn how to balance that, and you learn how to rely on the God. Because when you feel like, okay, there's nothing and no one there, you know God, that's your strength. That's your strength. And even when people mistreat you or whatever, you know, passive aggressive towards you, or all those type of trials I went through, but my saving grace is, wow, do they believe that Master Muhammad sees them? That's my saving grace. When I'm mistreated, and I see you mistreating me. And I was told at this seminar once that I went through training, they gave all of us a name. They said, you're grin and bear it. You know, I've always been that grin and bear it, because I know God got me, you know, and that when I met Brother Jabril, one thing he would say to me every time he saw me, I mean, every time he saw me, when I met with him, he said, Allah loves Sister Ophelia Muhammad. He would say that. He would say that to me. And I came and grew to believe that, you know, because I said something silly as I was speaking to you before. I said to him, Brother, how you know Allah loves me? You know, and he just looked at me really strange, you know, this look he had, and then he didn't say anything, but he would say that every time, and I grew to know that Allah loves me, and knowing that God loves you, that's your saving grace. You stick with the God, regardless of whom or what. I missed a lot of opportunities, you know, and meeting the minister and getting to know him personally. But I got to know Brother Jabril personally, and he helped me. He told me to my face, "You're gonna kick yourself one of these days." He said, "You're gonna kick yourself for not understanding." I missed a lot of. It was like I was telling you, he was a light that I was too close to, and it was blinding me. I could not see him for him. I made so many mistakes, and I did. And I told him, actually, if he got the answers to the question he had given me, if he got those, and he knew I had kicked myself all through the years that he had told me I would do. So, but I really, really, I think for the young people, grab hold to the God, you know, grab hold to Allah in the person of Master Muhammad, and know that he's with you no matter what, no matter whom. Know that he's with you, and you'll make it through. I mean, the trials are going to come, but if you have that faith that he's with you, you know, you'll make it through. And I've been through the ups and downs, so It's not an easy road, but you'll make it.
Beautiful. All praise to Allah. Yes, ma'am. Well, I wanted to ask you about, and first of all, on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast, we thank Allah for you and your
Thank you.
sacrifices and the sacrifices of your family as well to help establish Islam here in North America. Thank you very much. We thank you very
You're
much.
welcome, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to ask you about um, the primarily the books that you have unwritten, I mean unpublished books of Minister Jabril. Can you talk about those?
Um, well, he gave me the Jesus book, it's really big, and the domestic life book. And I found because prior to learning about his transition, I was like a month ahead, pulling all of these articles and finding all of these letters and books and things that he had shared with me. And I was sharing with the sister Natalie, because she had said that when she first started reading Brother Jabril's article, she said, I don't understand how he talks, how he, you know, she didn't know how to follow how he talks, you know, how he presents things. And he presents most things with questions, you know. So I found several books. I didn't put them out because then my room would be with stuff everywhere. But there's several. I don't know if some of the books, because I have them in article types. I don't know if some of them are part of the bigger books, you know, the bigger book, DL or the Jesus book. But there's quite a bit of information that I have, and it's been a struggle trying to get through all of that. But some of it I have, and some of it I have not been able to complete. And the Jesus book I haven't been able to complete because it's really thick, or the domestic life book. So, and they're in paper form. It's not in a book form, so you have to read it, put it, so you don't get it all scattered or mixed up. So
yes, ma'am.
So inshallah, if Allah bless me to get through them, I plan to, so I can increase my knowledge even more and get greater understanding. I read in the Closing the Gap book, I saw where he had wrote in the book, for he hoped that the reader would get a good understanding of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And he used to always tell me that him and the minister were two sides of the same coin. And the minister is a talker, he said. Well, he don't talk, you know, Brother Jabril writes, minister talks. But he said with two sides. So it would also help us to get to know him and his mind, reading those questions that he raised that gave us profound answers from the minister. But you also get to know Brother Jabril in reading that book. My name was supposed to go in the book. Another mistake I made, because sometimes we would disagree on things, myself and Brother Jabril, and at that time that he had finished Closing the Gap, and he had sent someone to come ask me. Well, he had someone come ask me did I want my name in the book, and I was upset. No, not to put my name in the book. Look, another kick in the butt I got. So yeah, just different things like that. But he is my friend and my brother, and I grew very close to him. I admit I made a lot of mistakes. That light was bright, and I was blinded by it, not seeing him fully as he is and was to me and to all of us. So I don't mind being very honest about that, because I have letters from him where we wrote back and forth, you know, because we communicated every day for 11 years. But sometimes I would write because he was busy or he was on the road, and I would write him a letter. He told me, don't write me, talk to me. Well, I can't talk to you if you ain't here, you know. So, yeah, so I have those answers to letters, mistakes, and all of that. I have all of that. And I went over it, I cried over it, I smiled over it, kicked myself a few more times over it. But I'm grateful to Allah to have been able to share a part of his life. I'm grateful to Allah for that.
Wonderful. Yes, ma'am. And for those of us who may not have been as close to him, what is some of the lighthearted moments that we should know about his personality?
He was very humorous. Brother Jabril was humorous. He always he played a few tricks on me. He always made me laugh. He would always have you meet him at a coffee shop or um, uh, someplace to have some coffee. I didn't drink coffee, but one time I rode with him to this particular place. I don't even remember the place. It's kind of far out, and the waitress, young white female, she came over and she literally turned her back to me, and she's serving him and talking with him. I was like, how rude is this beast? I'm looking at her. So when she walked away and I'm looking like, I guess my face was like, oh, tear this, looking really bad. And he says to me, why are you getting upset because a dog wags its tail? And I just literally bust out laughing because that was so funny to me. Because I was like, this lady is really disrespectful, whatever. And then he made that statement, and he would just say funny things like that. He said one time, I met him at his home, and he handed me an article, and I was reading it, and he go, oh, Sister Ophelia, you brushed your teeth. I was like, just say stuff like that, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Sister Linda Muhammad, who typed up his articles for him, and him and her had plotted on me. I came to his home, and she was typing there, and he said, Sister Ophelia, I was told that you were talking about Mother Tynetta. And I got upset instantly. Who said that? No, call them, bring them over here. I'm gonna tell them to their face they're lying. And I was just going off, and him and Sister Linda just started busting up laughing because they were playing joke on me. And he had calm down. You gotta have a sense of humor, he said. So just stuff like that. He had a very good sense of humor, and I got this picture right here. That's the perfect picture for everyone to see Brother Jabril, that first one that came out with just a smile, no teeth, just a smile. And it's a gentle, I love you without even speaking words, and that's his personality. He loved the believers. He loved the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Farrakhan, and of course, Master Farah Muhammad. But he always asked us, who is your frame of reference? What is your frame of reference? If it's not the Honorable Elijah Muhammad Allah or Master Farah Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or Minister Farrakhan, what are you going off of? So I learned a lot from him. Since his transition, I'm remembering a lot, so that's good because my heart was heavy when I heard, because just 2 weeks, it was July 2nd, I had just answered these questions that I found in some of his articles that he had given to me concerning domestic life. And I went ahead and answered them, and I got them to Sister Edith Muhammad because she worked with his wife, Sister Patina. And she told me she gave it to him. And then I called her a week later. I said, did you get an answer yet? And she said, not yet. And then the next thing we hear about him transitioning, and that made my heart very heavy, so yeah, but it's good. It's good. The minister really helped me. I'll speak for myself when he spoke here in Phoenix that Thursday to all of us, because he touched a lot of questions and thoughts that I had in my own mind and heart, concerning Brother Jabril and his transition. And, I just thought, wow, that was just like really soon, unexpected type. So, yeah.
Excellent. Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. And people are showing you love all across the world.
Praise be to
Allah.
I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Sister Anita Rose says, her and Brother Kennard from Miles number 74. Thank you all for continuing to show love too to People's Podcast. Here we go. Sister Ophelia, we have a quick 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of People's Podcast, and then we're coming right back to you. Okay, ma'am?
All right. Yes, sir.
You're doing a great job. We thank you for everyone who's on our YouTube family. Brother Kente, Brother Musa, all the people who continue to show love, and thank you for every like, share, subscription, as well as anonymous Cash App. 1 second.
Camera and a drone. He does television and film editing. Please reach out to him if you need any of those services. Sister Miriam's ABC I Love Me, children's book and coloring book, and now Spanish book. All 3 available on Amazon.com. Sister Naima's Stay on Point Dance Academy, LLC. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country, right here in the studios of Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Kenneth's Bow Tie Maker Extraordinaire. He'll ship you bow ties anywhere across the nation. Dr. Henry Carter's King Henry Turkey Legs, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Rashad Muhammad's COVID-19 Disinfected Cleaning Services, out of Chicago. Student Minister Sharif Muhammad's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, available on adulsharif.com. And lastly, Brother Joshua Muhammad's book, Cleopatra, as well as No Father, No Excuse, both available on Amazon. If you would like to donate or a camera and a
Thank
drone,
you very much.
he does television.
1 second. And also to Sister Sherry Muhammad, Energetic Minds. If you have a child and you would like them to learn virtually STEM, she teaches STEM to young kings and queens all across the country. Please enroll your child into AsiaticMinds.com. Also, we have Sister Helen's book, exclusively for you, Black man, The Black Man's Sacred Book. It is a book of poetry and spoken word, HRSPATROL42@gmail.com. All right, back to Sister Ophelia. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Now, how important were the study guides and the writings of Minister Jabril to us now that he is transitioned?
Wow. I was thinking, like, if I was ever to had a study group, I would use his study guides, his old ones. I have quite a few of those because Brother Jabril always had us. I mean, he didn't just have the study guide, he would have articles, everything that he wrote pertained, he would have something pertaining worldly that's going on with the study guides. So that would be our current study guides, yes, but also his, taking on some of his old stuff and using that as a guide would be really good to use and have. I think that's just my opinion. Yeah, it would be really good. All my dictionaries, and I have thesauruses and every kind of Bible. My books, every time I asked him a question, most time he handed me a book.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have tons of books and different dictionaries and Bibles, because he said you don't use the old Bible, the King James, but then you use the modern, I got all kind of different Bibles that he gave us. He said, so you can get a clear understanding of what's, because we know the Bible is tampered with, and now we learn, that the devil has the history like current, and the current like history, we got it all messed up. So read it. He would have you read from every corner, every type of book, Wonderful. He gave me books on how to study and how to read and how to speak, and just tons of books on everything. He said, learn everything. You can learn everything from a book. So, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And you would proofread for 11 years?
Mm-hmm. His articles.
Yes, ma'am. And what was that like?
Sometimes a little tense. But I was very honest with him. If I didn't understand something, like say there's a sentence and this ain't making sense to me. And sometimes it was correct. He had a word wrong or something, and he would correct it, and finding the mistakes in writing and stuff like that. It was good. It was good. It helped him, and it helped me to be able to read the articles. And even though I was a little blinded by the light, sometimes I just didn't see. But it was very rewarding. I can say that. I liked meeting with him and the other believers, and he's a teacher. He would teach you, and it was good. And he had his fun days. He took me to movies a few times, and he said, "Let's go watch white people get killed." So I saw that movie with him, Eye of the Beholder. I saw Ronin, R-O-N-I.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ronin.
Yeah,
Yes,
I saw that one. And he would say, let's go see white people get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. He
Yes,
was
ma'am.
fun person.
Wonderful. And I wanted to ask you about the book. Is it possible that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is still physically alive? Yes, ma'am. Well, how was that? How were your grasp of that concept in the book, and how did the book help you, with realizing that reality?
Brother Jabril Stein, he wrote in my book, Is It Possible? He gave me that book. Gave me a lot of material, even some old lessons, the first lessons that came out. The problem book, I believe it was. And
Yes,
because he had a very personal and close relationship with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he knew him, and like the minister, he said this to me: you had to be able to kind of read them, their spirit, to know when to speak or not to speak. It's just, I don't know. It just helped me to know, like the God, and the faith that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is on that wheel. When the minister said he went on there and he heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's voice, I believe that. I believed it, and I'm praying. My prayer has always been, Allah, give me courage and faith to keep that, and don't let nothing and no one deter you from that, but I missed a lot of great opportunities with Brother Jabril, in seeing him for who he is, and that was the delight, traveling with this wise man. He opened the door. Ask me any questions you have. Well, when you don't know what to ask, because you ignorant, really, you don't know what to ask, then you just kind of follow him and try to keep up. And that's what I did. I tried to follow him, keep up. And then that made mistakes, until he, okay, we got part ways, because you're not getting it. You're not getting it. And some of the letters he wrote me, you're just not getting it. So it was a great experience, though. And I pray a lot that I'm getting it now and I'm understanding it better. So, yeah.
All praise to Allah. And Sis Ophelia, what advice would you give to future mothers?
One advice I want to give to the mothers is that you got to spare that rod in order to rear the child in order the way it has to go. Letting your children just go like, okay, that's Allah's child. Let me, yes, you give them that room, you give them that space, but you have to draw that line. Not only lost found children, but also Muslim children that I see, the parent are not sparing that rod. And so now your child is talking back and they're, not listening. And this is a crucial time. We're at war. And when you tell that child move, that child got to be able to listen to you and move and know that you mean it right then and there. So, and the reason that came to my mind was because a parent told me yesterday, wasn't a Muslim parent, told me yesterday, I don't spank my children. Well, okay. Well, that I understand now why your 3-year-old's talking back to you and not listening to you. And I told her this. I said, God said, spare the rod that spoil the child. In order for you to rear that child in the way it should go and not part, you have to spare that rod. I'm not saying beat your child all the time, but there's some things a child should know that the parent is serious about, you telling your child, hey, get your shoes, it's time to go, blah, blah. And he's talking back. He's not
Mm.
listening. He ain't going to get no shoes. I wasn't raised like that. We weren't even allowed to say, huh, or smack your lips or nothing. When my mother said, move, you better move. and so it's really important that your child understand, even though my mother didn't have to whoop us all the time, because she had a stern look and a voice that, oh, like, you didn't hear me. That was never her. She never said that, because if you did not move when she told you to move, you moved up off the floor, So not beating your children or anything like that, but honestly, rear them. So not only that they love God, because she did have us in church, my mother, 24/7. So she instilled the love for God for us. And we did part, we got older, we left church and whatnot, but I found my way back, as I grew older, I found my way back in the church by Allah's grace. And so it's that instilling God in them, and instilling that natural fear that if I do wrong, I'm going to get it. So that they know wrong is wrong and you don't do wrong. These children today are so wise. I have a 10-month-old baby girl. I have my own daycare. So I have a 10-month-old baby girl, and she understands. She likes to go over and pull the name tags off the children's little cubby that they put their shoes and stuff in. Mm-hmm. And she'll go over there and she's looking to see if I'm looking for her, if I'm seeing her. And I call her, and she automatically knows I'm not supposed to do that. I have to pop her. I just sternly said no. And each time she did it, I would take her and put her in the playpen. Okay, you cannot pull those names off. So she understands, and that's working for her. She's only 10 months old. It's working. So it's not always you have to spank, but in order to rear children in the way they should go, and you want them to go in the way of Allah. You want them to go that way. So when you want them to go that way, you have to spare that rod, because they got to understand God gonna spare the rod on you if you are in the wrong. He's going to spare his rod on you. So, and to keep them from that, and they ain't going to keep them from it, because they got to grow and mature and learn. Once they're away from mama, I got God to rely on. So instill the God, of course, but instill that natural fear of the God and the mama and the daddy. So.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you, Sophia. People showing you love all across the country. Can't wait to put this on YouTube. What type of music do you listen to, ma'am?
I like old school music. I love gospel music. I really love some good gospel music. I love, I pretty much, when I was coming up, I babysitted. So the lady I babysitted for, she listened to all kind of music. She listened to country, she listened to everything. So I was exposed to all of that. My hardest thing to listen to has been rap. That was the hardest thing when it came out, because I couldn't understand what they were saying. It was so fast, and that was the hardest thing. But I've heard some rap that I've liked, but I listen to all types of music. I know some songs I'd be in the store and they be the white boy songs, and I'm singing them because I was exposed to them and I learned them. So,
yes, ma'am.
Cat in the Cradle, the Silver Spoon.
Yes, ma'am.
So I love all types of music. Yes, sir.
Great. It's a great song, by the way. Yes, ma'am. What would you like your legacy to be, ma'am?
I never really thought about that, but I would like for people to know that I am an honest person, and I strive to do good to everybody. I was raised to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The golden rule, my mother called it. I was raised that way. I strive to raise my children that way. And by Allah's grace, as far as I know, and they do that. They treat people the way they want to be treated. So just that I strive to be a good person and help whomever I come across. I will help you. If you need help, and I can help you, I will help you. My name I saw in a dictionary that Brother Jabril gave me, and my name was in there, and it said a help. That's what it meant. And I pray Allah was a help to Brother Jabril. I met him at a time when he was kind of in a down, you know, and I really believe Allah guided me the way how we met. I believe Allah guided me to help him at that time, because he was staying with his mother, and he was in a room, and he said, and he showed me the room, and he said, this is where I sleep. He had a little mat on the floor. No, he said, no bed. Nope, don't want a bed. He had a mat on the floor, and all around was nothing but books. Books in the room. And then he after a while, he got his own place, you know, his home, and then he started bringing the believers over there to, you know, give them information, and, you know, steady doing the work. Never stopped doing the work. He was always on his Islamic job. He was on that 24/7, always helping someone. You know, just that soldier. He's that soldier. There's nothing negative I can say about Brother Jabril. He was that soldier. I met him as a soldier, and the last time I saw him was when we had Savior's Day in Detroit, and I just saw him. He was in a SUV. I guess they were getting ready to transport him to the airport, and I was in the lobby of the hotel, and I went out and spoke to him, and he just did that smile just like that. And he didn't say anything. He just smiled. And then his wife came, and the brother Robert that passed, he was driving, and I greeted his wife, and then they went on. That's the last time I saw him physically, you know, after so many years of not seeing him. That was the first time I saw him in a long time. But I don't know. Just good. A good soldier.
Excellent. Praise be to Allah. Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you, Sister Ophelia, on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience, for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the People's Podcast. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
This is Josh.
Oh, thank you. This is my first time ever doing a podcast. I was so nervous. But I appreciate your warm welcoming and your high spirit. It made me feel comfortable. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir.
This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Thank you all for watching.
Yes, sir.